What is up, everybody? So that was air brakes. Now we're gonna do a full walk around that you should do every morning, every time you hook up to a new trailer, every time you get into a new truck. Just do it. It'll save you a bunch of time and headache. And then in the next video, we'll do a brief walk around that you should do every time you get out of your truck, just because it's a good idea. But this one will save you a lot of time and aggravation and money, either in tickets or breakdowns or missing drop-offs or pickups or some combination of all of them. If you do it right, it can help a lot. And breakdowns are still going to happen. It's not a question of when, or it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But if you can get out ahead of them when you're not on the side of the road, it tends to be much less irritating. Okay, so first things first, I already showed you all the air brake inspection. So after you've done that, you're going to start your truck back up, let your air get back to normal operating pressure. Check all your gauges, make sure everything is looking normal. You're going to turn on your headlights, and you're going to turn on your four-ways. Now, this is not the ideal way to do an inspection, but I don't have another person with me, so this is how we're doing it. You're going to press in your windshield wipers. They have to work, and they have to spray. Certain officers will look at it and want it to be blue. Other times water will suffice, but they definitely have to spray. This is one you probably don't have to do every morning if you're in the same truck, because you're gonna know, especially if you're somewhere where it's necessary, but you're gonna turn your defrosters on. You don't have to have AC and you don't have to have heat, but you do have to have defrosters, and they do have to blow hot. Now, this is a challenge in some states or in some situations, and I'll explain why here in a minute. Then, okay, so I forgot to show you all this when I was under the hood. Now it's dark out, so I can't, but occasionally, especially if you typically run in really hot places, Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, they will put shutoff valves on the coolant lines that go to your heater cores so that you're not trying to overcome that residual heat when you run the AC. If those are shut, your heater will not get hot. So if your heater ever doesn't work, let that be the first place you look. And also, if you're planning on needing your defrosters, you need to make sure you open them up that day. So after your air pressure is normal, you can go ahead and shut your truck off after you checked your defrosters. You're going to release your trailer brakes. If your truck's not chalked, you're going to keep your truck brakes set because you don't want to get ran over. Also, if you're not somewhere by yourself, if you're in a yard where there's people, if there's any doubt ever that someone might jump in your truck, you're going to take the keys out and you're going to put them in your pocket. That's important, because as much as it seems like common sense that you don't want to run somebody over, you would be surprised how many people don't have common sense. And you're going to walk around the truck. You're going to check the side marker lights. While you're checking them, you can check the turn signal lights because your four-ways are still on. You're going to check your tires. You have to have 4 30-seconds on a steer tire, 2 30-seconds anywhere else. Never, ever, ever let anybody ever put recaps on a steer tire. You're going to check the air pressure. We're not going to do that for the sake of this video because I can tell you my tires are good all the way around. But you're going to check your air pressure in the morning, and then every time you get out of the truck, you're going to kick them or hit them with something. Make sure while you were driving, something didn't happen and they didn't go down. Continue to walk around. Turn signal, headlight, turn signal, other steer tire, turn signal, side marker. As you're walking, and that's why you release your trailer brakes and air it up first, as you're walking, you're going to be listening for any air leaks. Look underneath. License plate light has to work. I know it's retarded because there's no license plate, but if there's a light on the truck that's not chicken lights, they have to work. Now, obviously you can't check your brake lights while you're the only person, but they run on the same circuit as your turn signals. So as long as the brake switch itself isn't out, if your turn signals are working, your brake lights will be working. You're going to check the trailer tires as you're going around. Remember, we said 2 seconds everywhere but a steer. And as you're looking at your tires, you're going to look and see if maybe you've got some spots that are wearing funny. Like that spot, for instance. It can let you know if you've got any alignment issues early enough that you can hopefully save the tire. It can also let you know if maybe you have a hub going out. These hubs, these tires are auto airing on the trailer, but if you look, there's a sight glass right there. You can see the full on the sight glass. Make sure they have oil in them. Sometimes if the seals in them go bad, the oil will leak out. Then you have a big mess on the side of the road when the hub finally decides to blow apart. Side marker light, tail light, turn signal, brake light, clearance lights, tail light, turn signal, brake lights, license plate light, and you always want to, and DOT tape, 100% across the back bumper, 50% down the sides. You always want to have your DOT tape as clean as possible and your license plates as clean as possible, because that's just one more reason for them to mess with you. You always want to have your truck as clean as possible, because dirty trucks equal dirty logs. My logs are electronic and I'm driving through snow, so y'all don't judge me. 4 tires, hub oil. Also, while you're doing this, this is from a repair, but like you see how there's oil slung to the outside of this rim? If you see that and you didn't just have a repair, then you know you probably have a seal leaking and you should check it out. Always do this walk around the same way every time, because once it becomes habit, then you're less likely to miss something later. Check your airlines, firmly attached, not leaking, nothing's rubbing. Actually, it's rubbing a little bit right there. I need to tighten that spring. Fuel caps are on. And I know you're thinking, well, why wouldn't your fuel caps be on? Well, because sometimes in the middle of the night, maybe somebody wanted to steal your diesel. This is way easier when you're not hooked up to a trailer, but you're going to look at these diffs. And you're going to make sure they're not slinging oil somewhere. You're going to look at the universal joints on the drive shaft. Try to make sure they don't have any play. Normally you'll put a bar in there and rack them. I only have one hand and I'm not trying to break any more phones this week. Fire extinguisher, charge, triangles, toolbox. This one's only a little one because I flew here, but always have a toolbox. And I know you're gonna say, well, I'm a company driver, I'm not supposed to. Yeah, but about the first time you sit somewhere for 4 hours waiting for someone to come change an air fitting, you'll carry a toolbox. Then you're gonna open the hood. You're gonna look for any oil or fluids that might be leaking. Visually inspect all your hoses, all your electrical connections, and make sure they're tight, no play. The fan, make sure it's not somehow rubbing on the radiator and that all the blades are there. Your belts, that they're not frayed or worn or have too much play in them. Coolant is full. Your clutch hydraulic fluid is full. Sometimes those get hard to see through when they get old. You can take the cap off and just kind of dip your finger in there. Again, you have all these airlines coming here and they're all with quick connect fittings. The odds of one of these leaking at some point are really, really good. So you're gonna listen real closely, wiggle them. If one of them is leaking and it's long enough, you can take it out, cut just the tip off and slide it back in firmly and it should stop. The oil filter's not leaking. It looks like I might have a little bit of a leak right there. If a drop forms and falls to the ground, you're out of service. residue on the motor is legal. Check your power steering fluid, your fuel filter. If this ever gets all the way full, then that means you're in desperate need of a fuel filter. It should never be about too much fuller than about right here. You're gonna wiggle this connecting rod for your steering. Make sure it doesn't have excessive play. Visually inspect all of your springs, shocks. Make sure you don't have any cracked springs. Check the oil. Now, again, one-handed for the camera, but in a perfect world, like if you're doing this yourself, you're gonna wipe this off, reinsert it, pull it out, look at the line. I don't know if y'all can see this on the video, probably not, but I'm just a little bit below full, but not to add. You don't see this as much on big trucks, but if you've got like a 1 ton or a 3/4 ton, you're doing hot shot type stuff, these springs for the air, and particularly on the turbo side, they'll start getting worn and blowing these boots off. So when you get under a big load, like going up a hill, it'll blow them apart. So you always want to check them, make sure they're right. Now remember, my truck's been running all night, so some of this stuff's hot. I'm not really trying to touch it any more than I have to for the video. If you're doing this on a cold truck, touch everything, wiggle everything. You can see the lines for cold minimum, warm minimum, cold maximum. And I forgot this in the video. I visually looked at it, but I forgot to mention it. Your mud flaps and the reflective thing on top of the mud flaps. I don't know why you have to have reflective things on top of your mud flaps, but you'll get a ticket if you don't. You do not have to have mud flaps except for on your rearmost axle. So if you're under a trailer, it's gonna be the back axle of the trailer. But if you have no mud flaps on your truck and you're just driving around, that's just another reason for them to give you an inspection. So don't do it. Another weird rule that I don't know why you have to have is conspicuity tape on the top corners of the cab. If you have a headache rack, then they have to be on the cab and the headache rack. They have to be there. It can be white DOT tape, it can be red DOT tape, it can be, like in the case of this truck, it's reflectors, but you have to have them. Okay, so as we said before, the keys are in my pocket. Nobody's gonna drive off with this truck. We're gonna put it in reverse. I'm just kidding. If you noticed, it didn't go into reverse because the gears didn't quite line up at where I'm sitting. So we're gonna start it up just to put it in reverse. Foot on the clutch. Shut it back off. Once you're in reverse, you're gonna leave the key in the on position with the motor not running. You can go back here. This truck has a beeper. You can hear the audible beeping, and you can see, oh shit, my backup light's out. And that is exactly why you do pre-trip inspections. I guess stay tuned. One of my next videos will probably be how you change a backup light. Thanks for watching. If y'all do that every time in the same way and it becomes habit, you guys will save yourself a bunch of time and aggravation on tickets, on breakdowns, on anything that is preventable in going wrong. And I'm sure I missed some stuff. There's a lot that goes into a pre-trip. My trucker friends, hit me in the comments. Let me know. I'll make amendments as I have to. Until then, y'all keep it dirty side down and be safe.